Welcome to NewsNale, episode 27. This week's topic, we're talking about how to be a rising star. But first, NewsNale, brought to you by Nails Ed, a learning and development platform focused on professional communications for your writing, for presentations, and for meeting management. We can help you make all of those more effective, more efficient, so you can do more, your team can do more, your organization can do more. Check us out at nailsed.com. Onward. Don't forget office hours. Our next office hours are not until April 3rd. I'm going to be busy the next couple of weeks. Won't be able to be here for you, but we'll be back Wednesday, April 3rd. And remember, office hours, we're talking about anything you'd like to talk about. It's one-on-one with me, yours truly, Professor Nalen. We can talk about how to manage your manager, if you're considering changing jobs, if you're looking at graduation and don't know what's next. Any of those things are on the table. Happy to talk about them all. We meet at 2 times. One is live, so if you're in the Bozeman area, we'd love to see you at the Mukai Coffee House there on 19th from 8 to 10. And then if you can't make it, you're not live or you're working hard, which we're going to be talking about here in the pod. We also meet from 5 to 7 in the evening via Zoom, and a link will be provided to you once you RSVP. Again, all this can be found on the website at nailsed.com. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about rising stars. So, you're starting a job, or you're 3 or 6 months into a job, or you've been there a year and you're just coming out of your review, setting up your goals for the next year. Are you satisfied with the experience you're gaining in the organization? Are you on track for the path you set for yourself, the goals you set for yourself? Do you have the amount of authority that you want within the organization? Do you have the respect and the trust among your peers or among the higher ups, the decision makers? How are you doing against the goals you set for yourself within the organization? And more importantly, the goals you set for your life. How are you doing against those goals? And if you're not where you think you want to be, then starting today, you can reset and accelerate your path to where you want to be. You can set out your path, your strategy, the steps you need to make to be a rising star. And today you're going to learn how to do that. It's, as I like to do, I've broken it down into 4 steps, 4 things to think about as you build up your path and get yourself on that trajectory as a rising star. So the 4 steps include timing, right? When do you do this? Awareness, making sure people know. Branding, what do they want to know about? It's about you, it's your brand. And building relationships. So to be a successful rising star in any role, in any organization, it doesn't happen by accident. It takes a deliberate set of behaviors and actions and a tremendous amount actually of self-discipline, because you're imposing this on yourself. No boss is doing it, no parents doing it, you're doing it to yourself, because it's a dynamic landscape in the professional world, and making sure that the decision makers or the right people recognize your contributions is crucial. It's about knowing who you want to be and making sure the right people see it. So when does this start? Let's dive right in. Let's talk about timing, right? Timing, you want to do it right now, right? As soon as possible, and to maintain throughout the first few years as you enter the full-time workforce. And there's various triggers that you can leverage to recenter and restart yourself on the path to becoming a rising star. And these kind of events are things like starting your first full-time job after graduation, obvious, right? Starting a new job at your current place of employment, you've shifted roles. Starting a new job at a new employer, you've shifted employers. You've just been promoted, or you have a new boss, a new manager. These are all times where you can reset and start redoing your path to becoming a rising star. And at each one of these steps or these opportunities, you can establish who you are and how you want people to see you. And these are the opportunities to build or rebuild your personal brand, and we'll talk about that later, and make the appropriate adjustments to your brand that you see necessary. Why now? Why early? Because first impressions and first actions actually do matter. You want to set that foundation as soon as possible of who you are in the organization and where you want to go. And continue to build on that as time goes on. You have to keep in mind that hiring and the needs of the organizations are fluid and dynamic. It didn't stop just the day you were hired. They're changing all the time. Your competition for attention from the organization, for promotion within the organization, for opportunities with the organization, your opportunities, all these only get diminished over time because your competition for those opportunities continues to grow, right? More folks get hired. Maybe a peer you're working next to just got promoted or got a closer look because they worked on a project that did a good job. Your direct report or your manager leaves or you get a new one. Nothing and no one, right, waits for you. You want to get out ahead and stay there. So timing matters. Get on it now. Number 2, awareness, right? Do the right people in the organization or outside the organization that need to know about you? Are they hearing about you? And are they seeing it and hearing about it on a consistent basis? Unless you've developed a proactive communication plan, kind of like a brand doing an advertising communication plan, focused against the right target audience, which are these decision makers, then the answer to those questions is going to be no, right? Because nothing happens by accident. No one cares more about you than you. You can't rely on anyone else to promote you. Only you can promote you the best way. Why? Because most managers aren't really that good on their own at identifying and elevating and rewarding your rising stars. They either haven't been trained, not their fault, right? Or they don't see the value in it. Or what did they get out of it? Because people are very self-serving and it's actually just extra work for them. And the worst ones see you as competition, so they're going to suppress anything that you're doing well that you want other people to say because they think it makes them look bad, which really, this goes back to being a good manager. The best managers are the ones whose people get promoted, right? So you'd actually want to find your rising stars and make sure the world knew about them. But that's subject for another pod. So you want to ensure these decision makers are aware of your hard work and your accomplishments. You want to be proactive in sharing your successes. It helps you stand out in a crowded professional arena, and they're more likely to consider you for promotions or special projects or opportunities to shine, right? Being your own advocate, you ensure that your perspective on your achievements are accurately represented. So take control of your professional story to avoid misinterpretation or undervaluation of your contributions. Which takes me to Peter's principle. I think this is number 5, and it's something to live by in rising starness or in anything you do. If you want something done, just do it. Now, I'm not ripping off Nike because my dad said it first a really long time ago to me when I was in high school, right? You're the captain of your own ship. Never rely on someone or something else other than you to do what's right for you. No one is more invested in your success than you. Promotions, new opportunities, new jobs, these things never happen by accident. While it may seem hard to believe, right, decision makers in your organizations would be happy to be told what to do or how great you are. It saves them the effort and the time to go looking for it, which they probably wouldn't do anyway, right? I learned the power of just do it to make something done if I wanted something done in high school. It was I think junior fall, I started a barbershop quartet a cappella singing group, and I was pretty proud of it. And we were actually pretty good, but no one knew about us. And I wanted to find a way to get people to know about this, right? Being a budding marketing guy, I said, what media is available to promote us? And there was only one. It was the school newspaper. I wonder if they even have those in high school anymore. It's probably not printed, right? Well, this was actually a newspaper. It was printed. It came out every couple of weeks. It's what everybody used to find out what's going on campus, what events are coming up, who's playing what, where. So I wanted to be in this newspaper, and I was telling my dad about, boy, I wish they'd write an article. Like I'm just sitting around like, oh yeah, they got nothing to do but find this new stupid little singing group and write an article about it. And my dad said, well, why don't you just write it? I'm like, what do dads know? So I had all these answers, right? That's not the process. They have a whole staff of writers. I'm not on the staff. And he said, so what? I'm like, And I thought about that for a while. I'm like, yeah, so what? Why not? Why wouldn't I do that? What's the worst that could happen? The worst is they find out there's actually a barbershop quartet on campus that they haven't been writing about, and they'll send someone out, right? So anyway, I wrote it, gave it to a buddy of mine who gave it to the editor, and you know what? They published it. And not only did they publish it exactly like I wrote it, which was one of the first times I learned people are lazy. People love to have their job done for them. And who better to do their job to talk about you than you? So it was in the next issue, got written, and you know what? It looked pretty darn good. I made copies of it. It was part of my college application. Probably helped me get into school. Who knows? But if I hadn't have done something, it wouldn't have happened. That was a great lesson for me to learn early on in life, and it stuck with me and it served me throughout my career. If I wanted to get promoted, I certainly can't rely completely on someone else, on some arbitrary senior level person to not only notice me doing good work, but also add work to their daily amount of work to document it and then share it with others. So I just did it myself. How did I start my own marketing agency? Did it just happen? No, I certainly talked about it for 2 years, but at the end of the day, I realized if it was going to happen, I needed to just do it. I needed to do something. So I started it off. I wrote a draft of the business plan, shared it with others, found some like-minded people who thought it was a good idea. Some wanted to do it with me, and I was on my way. Did anyone else start that process? No, I did. What happened? I did it. The key takeaway here, as the folks at Nike say, just do it. All right, back to how do you become a rising star? Step number 3, branding. Yours. Establish a strong personal brand that makes you memorable and sets you stage for future opportunities. It sets you apart from your peers. It says who you want to be, but you can control what people think about you when they see you. So think about right now, if people see you and you ask them, said, describe me in 3 words, what would people say? Are you happy with that? And we'll talk about how to build or rebuild your personal brand in another pod down the road here. So we won't go too deep into it now. But if you think about it, a strong brand is really important, right? When you think of brands like Apple or Tesla or Patagonia, what comes to mind? And whatever comes to mind, trust me, didn't get there by accident. A lot of people, a lot of planning, a lot of organizing, a lot of agencies, a lot of strategies, a lot of deliberate actions went into that brand image. And it wasn't easy, and it certainly didn't happen overnight for these brands. Nor will it happen overnight for you, right? It takes discipline, deliberate planning, and execution over time. And the result of that is these brands provide these companies with the ability to charge more, have higher margins, therefore have higher profits, and therefore they can do more than their competitors. And for you, it would be the same thing. You'll rise faster than your peers, you'll make more money, you'll have more opportunities, you'll profit more overall. And it doesn't always mean spending a lot on advertising. These brands really do very little advertising, if you think about it. In fact, Tesla does no advertising at all. It's all Elon, and he leverages public relations, right? Public ways of communicating, mainly through Twitter, which is now X, but he's always in the news, right? And if you look at the steps to building a rising star or even building his brand, they're very similar. Timing, he did it right from the beginning. He was always in the news. He was always talking Tesla. He always was doing something that kept him front and center. Awareness, and that's how he built awareness. Do you think we got subsidies from the government to buy electric vehicles that just happened? No. Elon went to Washington. He talked to the representatives and convinced them of this carbon neutral world that was going to start with electric vehicles. And so the government got behind it and pushed everybody and pushed out subsidies and checks to people to go buy cars. And that's what he did. He built relationships to get this done. He knew the right people to talk to, who to influence and how to influence them. So these are all things that all kind of comes together into building your personal brand. And you're always tuning it, you're always talking about it, you're always thinking about it. What do you want people to think when they see you? Last but not least, relationships. You need to build strong relationships with the right people. Building these strong professional relationships, and you do this by directly engaging with the decision makers. I know it's gutsy, it's nerve-wracking, it's anxiety-ridden, but there's nothing wrong with it. Again, what's the worst that can happen? This woman was working in our customer service, just walked up to me, the CEO, and introduced herself. They'd be impressed, right? They'd say, this person has confidence. Who is that person? And if you proactively establish a direct line of communication with these decision makers, it not only ensures they're hearing your message the way you want it to be heard, but it also demonstrates that you got confidence. You're different than your peers. You want to get something done. So identify who are those people that you want to know, or you want them to know you, and then how you're going to get in front of them. Is it at the next company outing? Is it at lunch? Is it asking for lunch? I mean, a lot of companies I've started in, the first few weeks, I started setting up lunches with as many people as I could find, who were above me, who I thought were influencers and decision makers. Worst case, they'd say no thanks, but at least now I'm on their radar. They know who I am. So that's it. To become a rising star, 4 steps. Timing, remember, earlier than better, but get on this. Build awareness all the time. You are your own communications person, right? Build your personal brand, keep adding to it, keep reviewing it, and build those relationships and strengthen them over time. And that's it for this week's NewsNale. Reminder, don't forget, office hours. Our next one is April 3rd, Wednesday, April 3rd. Live from 8 to 10 in the morning here in Bozeman at the Mukai Coffee House, or via Zoom, 5 to 7 p.m. These are all Mountain Standard Time. So again, thanks for joining us for NewsNale. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And remember, until next time, we're live. You're live. So go out there and live your best full life.